Let's first get to a story, like I said, that doesn't surprise me at all. And that, of course, is Montreal Impact supporters are not happy about the rebranding to CF Montreal. We had also heard rumblings of this back in December. Actually, not really rumblings. The Montreal Impact Ultras had actually got a petition of around 2,000 signatures fighting against it. But of course, we know the rebrand happened. And now yesterday on Twitter, Montreal supporters group 1642 posted a letter signed by 7 other supporters group rejecting the Montreal rebrand. Here are just some of the things from the letter. We were shocked and appalled to learn that you have erased the name of our club, its colors, and its logo. They also went on to say, we would also like to take this opportunity to mention that opposite of what was reported, no supporters group was ever consulted. As we know, one thing that's really unique about the world of soccer is that the team really does take into consideration the thoughts and suggestions of the supporters. I would say more so than a lot of other leagues out there. So for them to come out and say that seems like a pretty strong point. Ollie, were you caught off guard by this letter, or are you kind of like me where you're just not surprised that the fans are not happy?
I'm not surprised. I'm surprised that they kind of all unified into one to make this statement, because that's not something that you always get with supporters groups. But they have done in this case, and I think that's pretty notable. Look, you have to talk to your supporters, right? There's no excuse for not doing so, and we'll wait and see if the Montreal or CF Montreal respond to this statement and give their side of things. But if they actually haven't really consulted with their supporters in going through this decision, that's a big mistake, and it's pretty unforgivable, to be honest. You can do all the rebranding you want, all the marketing schemes you want, but there's no better way for me to sell your club than to create a true bonds between the team on the pitch and the supporters in the stands. And you can't create that kind of authenticity in a boardroom and making decisions unilaterally. We've seen this happen so many times when supporters aren't consulted and mistakes are made. We've seen it happen with the Chicago Fire, who are now actually going into a process of rebranding again by consulting their supporters this time, rather than kind of just doing it on their own. And it's something that never ends well when you don't take your supporters' views into consideration. You can't just continually sell to fans. You've got to bring them in. You've got to involve them. You've got to give them a stake in what you're doing. And if that hasn't happened, I can understand why the supporters are unhappy and why they're going to push back against this.
Montreal may have made their MLS debut in 2012, but by no means is that when their logo came about. You're going back to 1992 when they were part of other leagues, so you can see the attachment to this. So, Gareth, do you sympathize with this fan group?
I do. A couple things. It's fine if a club wants to change its brand or change its image, but when fan groups and the people that care about the team most speak out like this, I think there has to be some kind of a reaction based upon the club. And I think that people that work and are involved in the game of football for a profession oftentimes forget how special it is to be part of that club and what those supporters feel and how they identify on a day-to-day basis with the team that they support. Now, not all groups, not all people are going to be aligned in terms of what the symbol should be or whether or not you can change the name or change the crest or change the logo. Leeds United, for example, they had their logo rebrand change back to the original one because of so much dissent. So I am sympathetic in that way. Bigger picture for Montreal, I think a lot of these issues, about imaging and names, they will go away to a certain degree if you put a product on the field each and every year that's competitive and striving and in a position to win championships. And I look at this club right now, they've kind of been that middle-of-the-road team for years now, kind of good enough to make the playoffs, but not really much more than that. They have 2 open designated player spots right now. Fill them. Show a signal of intent to those fans that you're going to do the best you can to put the best product on the field that is possible. I think they've done it with the manager, Andy. Absolutely, with Thierry Henry. But why not bring Nacho Piatti back to the club? There's rumors circulating this week that the 36-year-old club legend has interest in Major League Soccer. Bring him back. Extend the olive branch. And some of these problems, I don't think they'll necessarily completely go away, but they'll alleviate some. And I think goodwill is paramount at a time like this.
Well, both of you have already alluded to clubs, both in MLS and elsewhere, that have gone back when they've rebranded because of the supporters groups not necessarily liking what they've seen or felt like they weren't consulted. So, Ollie, we have yet to hear from Montreal, the organization, at least since we've gone to air here and responding to this letter. But do you think it's too late to go back? Or do you think this should be something that should be considered to rebrand or go back to Impact?
I think it probably is too late to go back. There's theoretically no reason why you can't do it. I just can't see the club being willing to take that kind of level of embarrassment and also the kind of waste of money, right, of this whole process by going back to the Impact brand. I think what you can do and what is more realistic is to bring the supporters into the fold and work with them and say, okay, how can we improve this in a way that works for everyone? Can we create something new that the supporters buy into, as well as, the club can be happy with and meet some of their kind of requirements in the way they're trying to reach more fans, represent more of Montreal maybe, and also reach out more internationally as well. So I don't expect they will go back to the Impact, and I was never really against them, in theory, going with a rebrand. But it's clear that this needs to be more all-encompassing in terms of all the people who are involved in the club and who pour a lot of money and energy into the club being given some kind of say in the way forwards.